if you only open your eyes, you can always find your people, and you can also come together and educate.
Conformity is the system's way and ideology of what unity actually means.
Learn the language of the masculine without betraying my feminine.
Aloneness is not loneliness. If you dissect the word, it's literally all oneness. You begin to connect back to self. You begin to find a version of yourself that you have forgotten for far too long. Welcome to another episode of Talks to Ignite Global Freedom. And today we have the lovely, the beautiful Sonya Mulkeet. And she's a conscious leader and social media expert. And she has really supported some amazing projects around the world with Project Nightfall, which is essentially a social media movement that has eventuated into a philanthropic venture, supporting lots of people around the world. And not only that, she's also the founder of Safe Space, which is a monthly container designed to create a beautiful container for women to express parts of themselves that potentially have been shamed, repressed in various ways. We're going to dive deep in a couple of topics today. And as you all know, it's always a rabbit hole with my conversation. So, Sonia, such a pleasure.
Such a pleasure, likewise. Thank you for having me. I love the way you introduce Safe Space. It's so beautiful because you had your own take on it. And it's so true. I never really shared it, but you must have felt into it. So thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah, of course. And that's the beauty of it. Like sometimes with people's projects, naturally I will feel into its highest potential and highest light. And I'll simply express what it gets to be. And whatever path that you're on to evolve into that in various capacities or express yourself in that is going to unfold in the highest lights anyway, because you yourself are an amazing individual. So on the topic of global freedom, what is your perception on freedom? And what does freedom mean to you?
Wow. That's such a big question. Thank you for it. I've actually been sitting with this for the last few months, and for whatever reason, I've been viewing it and experiencing it with different lights. And 2 weeks ago, I was in the Philippines and we made a video with inmates. And so we got to go to the prison, and they're called the dancing inmates. So they became viral because they do this dance together. And that entire experience is the reason my answer is going to be so different than if you had asked me this question 2 weeks before that. I would have just told you freedom to me is just the ability to design my life the way I want to design it and to experience it the way I want to experience it. And while that is still true, going into this prison and seeing these high risk inmates, people that have gone in for murder, rape, dancing with them, feeling their energy, interviewing them, seeing them smile. I truly believe freedom is a state of being. I think so many of them showed me that day that you can be trapped in a cell, but you can say a big fuck you to the system, to your past, if you simply choose your state of being. And so many of them went back to God. They said faith is keeping them going. They talked about just the need to have hope. So freedom is a sense of self. I feel freedom is the ability to remove layer after layer, all the conditioning, all the past experiences that no longer fit the today version of yourself, to just be fully actualized. That's today's answer.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that's such a beautiful thread. And at the same time, with your experiences in the prison, and I'll share with you a story about it later, what do you have to how do you respond to individuals potentially coming from a place of judgment that these murderers, these rapists, they do not deserve freedom? What is your perception on that?
I sat with that, you know. I think ultimately this is the motto, and it applies to everything. I think when you are judging the rapist and the murderer, you're essentially blindsided to that in you. We all have an extractor within us. We all have the harmful version of us in ourselves. And to be able to judge someone else, it just automatically is our desire to put us above the other without knowing. It's not to discount what they've done. It's two very separate things. But judgment, the energy of judgment, it always just comes back to what are the parts of yourself that you're rejecting. And that is what I had to do, because I didn't even know they were high risk inmates. It was after I had my experience with them. It was after I hugged these women and men and I felt like a connection with them that I went to see the board and I saw most of them are high risk inmates. And it doesn't, my reality and my experience with them just doesn't change. They are also these people. They're both, you know, they have that duality. And so my answer to anyone who would judge would just be to look within. Find that part of an extractor, of the colonizer, of the rapist within you.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to confront, right? And I always express this to people. At any one time, you are the best that you have ever been, right? For your character reflects the consolidation of all of your life events and experiences to date.
Yes.
Your personality is a tool, it's a conscious choice that you utilize to leverage to really allow you to learn a specific set of lessons. So if we really understand that, the intricate dance between your character and your personality and the role that you play, if you really understand that beyond the mind and with your heart, then the undesirable elements of humanity, the murderer, the rapist, the child molester, the kidnapper, these are in various aspects innocent souls trying to find a place in the world and trying to make sense of the world themselves. It is a reflection of the collective, of humanity as a collective struggling for light, right? And there is some credence and validity to the perpetrator is usually the first victim, right? Hurts people. So when we truly understand this, then we do not perpetuate the judgment that has created the dissonance and the separation. What we do is educate.
For sure.
Yeah.
So true. And in their answers, a lot of them mentioned these things, you know, like a lot of them went back to God. A lot of them talked about how they wish they didn't have pride, you know, like you ask them if you
wow, that's beautiful goosebumps.
Exactly. What if you could go back to the version of yourself, the past version of yourself? What would you say to that version? And so many of them said pride. I just would wish that I didn't act on pride. And God, you know, like it just shows you that no one is beyond reform. And so when we judge them, we judge one version of them. And if it's an absolute judgment, we are essentially saying that I make a commitment to the notion that people don't evolve. And I don't think that's true.
Yeah, exactly. And our inability to see the ability of evolution in another is a reflection of our inability to see the ability for us to transcend beyond our root desires, right? The desires that keep us limited, the desires that keep us in fear. Like a contact of mine. So we did like a online summit with a couple of like global experts during COVID. And one of them is an amazing professional. His name is 𝗞𝗲𝘆 𝗧𝗸𝗲𝗄. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. But essentially what transpired in his life, he was convicted wrongly. So he was thrown into prison for a significant period of time for a crime that he did not commit. And he was in there for a while, you know, and for most people that would break their spirit in various capacities, you know, like let's say 5-10 years in prison for something that you yourself did not do. And this man, and such a beautiful man, I had such a profound conversation with him. Like, what he did in that time, he literally utilized that time to seek to understand the prison system.
Oh,
And he
wow.
began to create various structures and reforms in place, working with the prison guards to minimize crime rates and murder rates in the prison system itself.
He worked with the guards while he was in there.
Yeah. And
Wow.
not only work with the prison guards, but also work with various prisoners to also understand how they have come to be in order to create a system and a structure and a strategy to
Wow.
reduce crime rates and murder rates within the prison system itself. And his reform has actually been implemented by various prisons across different countries now. And he wrote a book about it.
That's fucking amazing.
Right? See, that's the beauty of human potential when you're able to go beyond your altered state of ego and go into truth and go into light and see beyond the judgment. Things begin to unravel in the highest light. Which brings me to a very interesting question, because you're from Singapore, I'm from Singapore, and
I know.
in various aspects, there is definitely a lot of judgment from our past that we needed to transcend, right? Not just judgment based on the academic system, judgment based on the racial system, judgment based on men or women as well. Like a lot of judgment that we need to transcend, because the government is seen as almost as the god in our country, right? And the government and the legal system is seen as the like literally the prison guard of our entire reality, right? Like if you do something wrong, you get fined. If you do something wrong, you get thrown in jail. You know, if you bring drugs in, you get killed. It's a whole like structure, right? And the legal system is what perpetuates guilt, right? Good and bad. So in your experience, what was your experience like in a system such as that? And what did that journey look like for you to transcend beyond that duality and embrace this understanding that you have now beyond judgment?
First of all, I'll say I'm not beyond judgment all the time. I always have to remind myself I am but human and I do still judge. But my journey with being Singaporean has been wow. Like it's been a portal in itself. It's been an experience needed to have, as I'm sure you have needed to have. And I think in the system that we were raised in, I was considered a failure. So I could not conform. And the system is meant to have us conform, right? It's not just unique to Singapore, but I feel like that energy of like stand in line and don't stand out and get these grades and then do that and then you're good. It's extra in like the Asian culture, and Singapore like really shows that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm not sure like whether your school had it. Like I know during my high school, one of the rules was like when you're with a woman and you're in line in assembly, ensure that like you're at least like half an arm distance or one arm distance away from a female.
That is wild. I was in a girls' school, so I didn't have that experience, but yeah, okay, that's a great example, right? And there's so many of these small little things. Like I was in a school that was Christian for most of my like primary school, secondary school, and it was like your skirt can't be longer than this amount, and if not, you know, you're this. And like not only was it the Singapore system, but it was also the institutionalized religion that's there to just have you conform even more and be, you know, I just felt like I didn't belong. And my ego's way of dealing with it as a teenager and that entire journey was to just like embrace that I was different, but in a very egotistical way. It was like, oh yeah, you're like mugging the whole day and like you're like studying all the time. I hardly studied
mugging.
And you know, like
it's been a while since I heard that term.
Exactly. These were like the superiority complex of like you are such a loser for slaving your life away. But really like that didn't come from, it came from a place of like feeling rejection. Like I felt like shit, I don't belong in my own country. Racially, thankfully, I didn't feel that way. Like a lot of Indians feel that way in Singapore. I've heard that. But personally, very little moments. did I feel like I'm being seen differently because I'm Indian. There were some, but wasn't my like way of looking at it. It was more like academically. So for me, I stood out in terms of like the way I spoke. I stood out as like leader in dance and drama. And so that was my thing. But in my own different way, I still was entrapped in the system, right? Like I was like, oh, I'm not good at studies, but I still used the I'm president of this club and I'm vice president of this club. I was competing in my own way. And so
Yeah.
I just felt so angry by the time I got out of it. By the time I left Singapore and I made friends that were non-Singaporean, I just had this like sheer condescending energy towards like Singapore and Singaporeans. And I just felt like they were sheep. And it almost became like it's a they rather than it's an us, you know? But I
Yeah.
didn't see the sheep in me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's evolved. It's evolved with people like you, you know. As soon as I opened myself up and I started to understand that the judgment of the other is really the judgment of myself, I started to actually call in aligned Singaporeans like you, like
Mm.
having speak and watch your journey and knowing that this guy is my age, was raised the same way as I was, similar way, and he is this person that I feel connected to, that I feel like I'm in resonance with. It just showed me that if you only open your eyes, you can always find your people and you can also come together and educate. Like I get to work with you or anyone else that I feel in alignment with, and I get to show the Singaporeans that need to hear some messages what
Mm.
they need to hear, as opposed to judging them and myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And 100% agree with you. Like, for myself as well, when I was in school, like, I never felt as well, like, people were consistently telling me that I will never be successful because my grades are shit, you know? Um,
Yes.
and I think for me, I just swung the other way. I just went, I don't give a fuck now. I'm just gonna do whatever the fuck I want.
Yep.
Um, and I actually took pride when I got like a 9 out of 100 for chemistry. I took pride that it was a 9. I was literally
I
like,
know.
since people are all saying 100 is like the thing, like the
Yes.
less I can go,
Yeah.
the better I feel, right?
Yes.
But the funny thing about it is like the lack of understanding of unity leads to uniformity. And uniformity, if we really break up the word, is literally uninformed, being uninformed,
Yeah.
right? And conformity is the system's ideal or ideology of what unity looks like because they
Mhm.
have no idea what true unity actually means. So
Oh, that's good.
conformity is
Can you
there.
slow that down and repeat it because it's so good what you just said. I just want it to land.
Yeah. So conformity is the system's way and ideology of what unity actually means. But that's a
Mm.
distorted perception of unity,
Yeah.
right? Everyone must pull in line. Everyone must be the same. Everyone must be uniform, right?
Yeah.
And interesting thread. So we've got 3 pathways coming here. One on religion, one on women and men. So let's go into religion first, right?
Cool.
So so when it comes to the religious side of things, like especially with the Indian culture, like I know for myself, because of my the borrowed beliefs from my grandparents, my parents and stuff like that, there were a lot of racial hierarchy that they were imprinting upon me. They created a lot of judgment to the different races in Singapore, creating this pedestalization of the Chinese race beyond other races. Because of
Yeah.
that is what they are favored because they do not understand other cultures, which created this imprintment of beliefs upon me. And it was only when I chose to let go of that and actually experience different races myself to truly be connected with them that I began to see that a lot of what we think we believe has actually been imprinted upon us, right?
Mm.
And you coming from the culture that you're in, India, such a rich religious, spiritual culture, and being in a Christian school at the same time, what is your experience of religion now and how has it evolved since the past?
Wow, that's a big one. So I grew up with my grandparents that were Sikh. They are Sikh. Sikhism is their religion.
Mm.
And I think that was the way I bonded with them. I felt like if I could repeat a verse in that text, and they'd be like, oh, wow, that was a way for me to like get claps. And so I did it in a performative way. And then my school was like, it made religion fun, honestly. Like we had like songs that we would sing, Jesus come, and like all of these things, and it made religion fun. So the young version of me truly felt very drawn to the stories and religion, like all of it. And at home, I was taught like that all religions are teaching the same thing, so there's no problem in learning. And then as I started to grow older, though, then it wasn't just the fun of religion that I would be um seeing, right? We would talk about
Yeah.
certain verses in the scripture of the Bible, and it started to be clear that some of who I am was being rejected, right? Like if I am a sensual being, which I am, which we all are, it was shown as, or that there was just this demonization of a woman embracing her sensuality, right? She's the slut, right? It's also like the way Mary Magdalene is seen, right? Like it's very hush hush, and it's just like there's just this idea of like the whore archetype. And if you really go into it, it's like that's a person that understands her body. That's a person that's like leaning into her sensuality, into her power. And so that's just one of the ways. And another thing would always be like the ability to have a voice. I feel like as a woman from my Indian culture, being open and having a voice and like arguing, that would be seen as arguing, So like you don't, even till date, like my partner comes home and he asked like my family like if they wanted tea that he's gonna make them. And my grandma's like, why is the guy making the tea? Like, we have to make the tea.
Wow.
Why is he making the tea?
Stress, 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 stress.
I know. And it's like, and we joke about it, we tease her by now. And I'm like, of course he's gonna make the tea. And I'm like, it becomes this like funny battle, but it actually came from culture plus religion. And at some point, it just kind of like danced together. I wouldn't just call it religion, but I would call it the institutionalization of religion. Because there is a difference between
Like
the
that.
practice, like, you know what I'm trying to say. It's very different when a man chooses what they want to print in a text, burn the rest that doesn't suit them, and then say,
Yeah.
hey, here you go, this is the Bible, right? So um, it has been problematic. And now I find myself going from the anger and the rage that comes from being squished
Mm.
to alchemizing that and having compassion for it and seeing how hurt the people must be that feel that the only way that they can feel in power and safe is if they squish others. And so it's like really just that dance of like having compassion for the people who feel the need to impose their religion and beliefs onto others, and also myself using spirituality to understand that like I am connected to God outside of the texts that are man-made.
Yeah, 100% agree because sometimes the text can create contradictions. For example, there is a phrase in the Bible that says, do not have sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman. That is detestable. And yet, there is another verse that says, there is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. So the contradictions are at play, right?
Yeah.
So in this experience of yours, specifically in terms of you waking up to the truth of who you are and really embracing the fullest expression of who you are, is there a specific awakening moment that was quite deep and transformational for you?
For sure. I think it was like everything is like a seed that's planted from the time I was a child, but there
Mm.
was a moment where there was a rupture, like a
Yes.
big like boom. And that was slightly like a couple months before COVID. I had just come out of a really toxic, abusive relationship, and I had somehow
Mm.
convinced myself that I need to end my life. And I had truly just like really felt that it wasn't the anger at the person, but at myself. Like,
Yeah.
how can I have been the person that let myself be treated like this? And I felt dirty and gross. And I've had my father that abandoned us when I was really young. So all the wounding when it comes to like my relationship with the masculine was coming up. And I felt so lonely and alone. And then you throw into the mix like the Singapore COVID environment that
Yeah,
started.
right. Yeah.
And that was that moment because the only way was up. And I feel like I came really close to doing something permanent while I was feeling
Mm,
something temporary, you know? And today you look back and you're like, wow, like I didn't want to end my life. It was like just that
yeah.
version of me. So that was an awakening for sure because I had to go back and like I just had to turn everything around. I had to end my friendships, the circles that I was in, the vices that I had that were frankly just incredibly dangerous, the lives, everything. I just had to like 180 shift. And that, you know, that's when I started finding spirituality, shadow work,
Mm,
therapy, body work, breath work, and Bali.
yeah. The little vortex, Mama Valley. Yeah,
Mama
that's so
Bali.
profound. Yeah, that's so profound. In that point of like dissonance, choosing to, yeah, it's those fleeting moments of emotional spike that our inability to understand them or command them leads to actions that create real repercussions in our life, right? It's so it's so present in this current global thought form as well, right? And the interesting thing is this, like I know for myself, and it's quite interesting. Like you talked about the anger and the frustration. It's less of the other person, but more towards yourself. And I know that when I was in my ex relationship, I was literally holding her through a legal lawsuit, sexual assault legal lawsuit. Right, we're moving through that, and we began to really have conversations to unravel. And it's the hardest thing for a sexual assault quote unquote victim to look at is how did they create the situation, right? It's one of the hardest, most confronting situations, and the anger that's projected onto the other party is literally just a reflection and a projection of the anger you have towards yourself of landing in the situation and creating the situation in the first place, or why me,
Yeah.
right? And that creates a lot of because it requires such a depth of introspection and embodiment of self-responsibility beyond anything we've been taught that it's not easy for someone in that space, in that low vibrational frequency to hold yourself to the highest light when there is not a strong enough mirror, right? So in those moments of when you had those thoughts, those triggers, those emotions, and you were ready to leave this plane, what were some of the aspects that allowed you to hold on to the light and brought you forward?
Thank you for sharing. So, first of all, I fully understand because I was your partner, your ex-partner. That was my experience as well. And I think at that time, that's where the anger came from. And I wasn't yet ready to see the role I played. And it's a delicate thing to talk about because it's a fine line between victim blaming and taking accountability for the parts that you kind of created because it's always a
Yeah.
co-creation. It is, you know? And so that was a very difficult time. And I was very much in blame. I was very much in why me. It wasn't like it was a little bit of both, but mostly why me. And what had helped me in that moment was my cousin. We had gone on a trip a couple years before that, and we were, you know, not sober. And she is not someone that expresses herself a lot, but for whatever reason, she had pulled
Mm,
me aside and she had said, "Do you know what? Like, we only have each other. Like, because we don't have any
mm,
masculine in the house, really. Like, our uncle's estranged, sort of. So it's all women. And she's like, when my mom passes and your mom passed, like we only have each other. And even though I'm younger than her, I always kind of felt like a sense of responsibility towards her.
Mm.
So I had started writing my goodbye letters. And I was writing my letter to
Wow.
her.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, I was writing
Wow.
a letter to her. And that really hit me. Like that shook me because I was writing, I'm so sorry that even though I promised you that we're gonna be the ones like till the end of time, that I'm gonna go and do this because I can't do this anymore. And as I wrote those words, like it was, and it still comes back to me that moment because it's so clear. It was like I needed to write that to her to have that like what the fuck are you doing, and I had that what the fuck are you doing moment, and it needed me to just like sleep on it rather than act on it immediately, and I needed that one sleep to at least confide in a friend or to, because it's sometimes those crazy moments where it's just like you are not in your senses, and I had borrowed belief that helped me that day because I hung on for duty and responsibility. And that bought me some time until it became for me that I want to live and not for someone else. But it helped.
Honoring you in your expansion, your evolution, your awareness and self-love. And that's such a beautiful mirror when it comes to for any one of you in various aspects, or someone who's moving through similar aspects. Sometimes a person devoid of love in that state of liminality, all they need is a mirror of love for them to come back to self, right?
Mm.
Because a person who has lost his connection to his source or his or her source in terms of where the love is coming from, all they need is almost like an adrenaline shot, right? Of love and compassion for that person to come back to self, which comes back down to what you experience in the prison systems of how that space alone, that space just being with themselves, they found God, right? And I always tell people there's the cacophony of noise that we're in, social conditioning, society, all of this do. Even sometimes neuro-linguistic programming is such a powerful modality, but also it creates this distortion of be, do, have, right? Be the person you do, then you have the thing, right?
Mm.
And this continues to perpetuate the materialism at play. But really, to come back to self, to be the God self, to embrace all of you is to be, know, live. There is nothing to have, there is everything to live for, right? And this is the thing, right? For like we begin to really understand how the human psyche like evolves and how we are so affected by external beliefs and external conditioning until we create that sacred, sanctimonious time with ourselves to really feel into the truth of who we are. And I always tell people this: aloneness is not loneliness. Aloneness,
Absolutely.
exactly, if you dissect the word, it's literally all oneness, right?
Mm.
You begin to connect back to self. You begin to find a version of yourself that you have forgotten for far too long, that innocence, that purity when you were first born into this given lifetime, the vulnerability, the rawness, the realness, right? Before all of these layers get stacked on top of each other. So with you specifically, like, let's say if someone is going through something similar right now, what is the one thing that you would love to express to them in this given moment?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the old version of myself. I would just want to say that as hard as it is to see it right now, that there is a different reality. There is a different reality that is waiting for you, and you literally just need to hang on. And it's not about like, I think in moments like this, we are usually like, we literally can't see any hope. Like there is no light, right? And it just requires us to do one moment and then the next moment. It's about picking
Mm,
one thing right now that can make you feel better, like a cup of coffee. I know it sounds so small and simple, but it is literally going, let me do that one thing that's going to bring me a little bit of joy. Coffee today, my dog
mm,
tomorrow, you know, that sitcom show that I watch another day, and then slowly until you're getting out of your bed and you're finding your groove. It's literally like when you open yourself up to the light, it will shine through. Just having that faith, because I couldn't have imagined in that moment that my life would turn out the way it has turned out now in a mere like 5 years. I couldn't in my wildest dreams have imagined that I would be leading the life that I'm living. I love it. I love it. And I'm here to do
Mm.
that, you know? Like you get to see your mission. You get to realize you are here for a reason beyond you. And that gives you purpose. And yeah, that's it. Like just hang on. Like no matter what, hang on.
Beautiful, beautiful. Pain to purpose, trauma to transformation, mission, wounds to wisdom. So with your experience with the projects that you've been facilitating and you're now stepping into, with Project Nightfall, with the venture philanthropy, the projects that you guys have been doing, and with the safe space that you're creating for women, because like what you and your partner have created is fucking amazing, with social media and you leveraging social media to create the impact that you're creating. And people almost have this certain fear of social media or certain like maybe distortions to the social media and how to utilize it and where it fits in as humanity begins to evolve towards unconditional love. I would love for you to share, based on your experience, the perception and the impact of how social media and digital storytelling can have in modern activism and philanthropy.
I'll start by sharing my journey with social media. I've had a love-hate relationship with it.
Don't we all?
Oh my God, it's been such a portal in itself, you know? I was thrown right into it, like not knowing how to swim. Just Aegon took me, my partner, he took me and he just threw me in the deepest of oceans. And he's like, you either swim or you drown. And I swam, like I became like a fast swimmer, you know. When him and I met, I had like he jokes about it. I had like a private, all my social media was private. I didn't even have no, I had an Instagram, it was private. There was just nothing that I was consuming. And I thought that everyone on social media is just a bunch of narcissists, like who think too highly of themselves. Once again, all the judgment really showing my fear of being seen for who I am, you know, just masking that. And I think that's what social media is, just a mirror, like with everything. Like it's just the people, and I've been there, who are afraid of showing up online or feel the need to curate a version of themselves that is acceptable to go online.
Mm,
That is usually a stepping stone, and then it kind of becomes like a game, you know? Like if you have a mission, you use it as a game. Like,
yeah.
how far can I go in being the most authentic version of myself? Today, when I have
Mm,
people follow me right after I have shared something super vulnerable, I celebrate. I'm like,
yeah.
"Yes,
Letting go of space.
that's amazing," because these are not the people that are aligned. I'm here to build an aligned community. And so to anyone who's wanting to use social media to like spread their message, I would just say use it as a game to learn how to be your realist, most authentic version of yourself, because you will find your people and you will struggle and you will get haters and you'll like, I've gotten death threats, you know, like it gets
Yeah,
bad.
I get it.
It's painful, you
I
know,
get
and you just get to learn like, wow, how much is my perception of myself related to others' perception of me? And it's a full-on life course. I would suggest everyone, whether you have a message or not, like whether you have a mission that is there yet or not, go on social media simply as a tool to self-improvement. Like that's it. It just
Yeah,
teaches you so much. So much.
yeah. What are some examples of threats or hate that you've received on social media and how did you resolve it?
Hmm. So I've received hate for talking about the double standards between men and women. Like we made a video on the virginity trap, so to speak, right? Like
Mm,
when guys like they flaunt their body count. They're like, I've had these many women, and then a girl is supposed to be like, virgin, and then she's like
Yeah.
high value. And so it was just like us talking, like me talking about that and presenting on it. And I had like just my inbox was flooded with people like calling me a whore and a slut and how many people I must have slept with and blah 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 blah. And that tends to be the recurring theme. Me, every time I come out and say something that's really me, I'm tested because I get rejected. So at first it used to crumble me
Mm,
and I got angry. I'm like, fuck these people. I don't even want them to follow me. Like, I don't want them. Like, that was the initial response. And then it became, how grounded am I in my messaging that no matter the hate I receive, I'm still going to come out and say that same message again rather than
exactly.
hide. So usually it was that. It was another one was like I had come out to talk about this case in India where I think like someone dragged a woman out of the house and like beat her up
Mm,
because she gave birth to a son. And we just
right.
talked about like that topic of like the preference over male rather than female in some cultures, like in India. And again, it's like a lot of people don't realize that I'm born in Singapore. And even if I'm not, like, okay, she's Indian, and so she's like a traitor. Like, so there's a lot of
Right.
like
Yeah, makes sense.
hate in that sense. Or yeah, it's usually the fullest expression of the feminine that really tends to trigger either women who feel like they need to be suppressed or men who feel like they need to suppress us. And
Yeah,
and I'm like, see me, see me shine, baby.
exactly. Yeah. And that's so profound. Like similar to you, I have received not so much death threats, but more of like threats towards my well-being and my business, like through the work that I've been doing. Like
What?
literally the 100% stuff like because there was this moment in time where I was very much in the fuck the system mentality. And I
Yeah.
was just all about expressing my perceptions online and stuff like that. And I will receive messages that express stuff like, how can you use the word fuck the system? That's like you're such a cunt. I'm gonna like do whatever I can to take down your business and so on and so forth.
Oh, wow.
And there was even one instance where I received a email from some scammer or something whereby they said, we've just taken down your company business profile, and it was taken down probably like a couple of hours prior to the
Wow.
email. If you don't pay us $10,000 in crypto, I'm going to take down your personal profile and so on and so forth. So it became this whole thing. But the thing with my relationship with social media is initially it was what determined my self-worth,
Yeah.
similar to money, right? So the first time
Very
my
similar.
Instagram was taken down, it created this whole nervous system wreckage within
Mm,
me. Like, oh fuck, now nobody knows me. I don't belong anywhere. Like, I don't have a voice. I don't like. It became this whole like nervous system wreckage of like that my it's like money sometimes. Like social media is like my nervous system now, and it really took me took my account getting shut down 3 times for me to go like, oh, what the fuck. I don't give a fuck now.
wow.
It
Yes,
becomes this like unfuckability of like, even if it gets removed, it is for a reason. I'm still gonna find ways and alternative ways to spread my message.
I see you so literally. Like we've had the same experience. So like I really, really know what you mean. And that's also what I mean by it's such a great like learning ground.
Exactly. And seeing the success that you've had on social media, on a business standpoint, what would you say would be 3 key tips if someone wants to take the social media to the next level?
One, authenticity.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times people go to people who have numbers on social media, or have had business success through social media as their funnel or vessel in some way. And they go, okay, let me see what are the types of videos that they are creating. And let me see how I can sort of like fit my message in that. And it's kind of like copy paste. So what tends to happen is like we just have so many people that start sounding like each other. And sometimes that can work. like you can actually get traction and you can get a lot of views. But like right now, I'm coaching and people like, oh, like how do I do social media, right? And the thing about social media is like you don't want the numbers when you have a business. You want aligned
I
people.
agree.
I have gotten my social media following from making videos that are random, like Project Nightfall made videos about crime tales and then human story, and then this happened that's educational. Like, we are a video creator channel, right? It can be anything. But when you're talking to everyone, if you're selling a business, then you're talking to no one. So it's very different. Like for me, in my own coaching business, I'm not going to just follow the same things that I've picked up through running Project Nightfall because I don't want 5 million people. I want 5 million people who want to listen to me all the time. So that's like one thing, a main thing, authentic messaging. And then the second thing is knowing your audience. Like create so that you reach the people you want to reach, not so you reach the masses. That's like the second thing. Did you say three? And third thing would be have fun. I think so.
Yes, I like
Yeah,
that.
have fun. Social media can really like drain you in a way, and like people are like, I have to do X number of videos, and then I have to. But like, fuck, you get to. You don't have to. You get to. It's almost like getting a mic and a stage and knowing that like thousands of people are going to come and watch. And that is a humongous privilege. So do not take that for granted. Like, have fun. I think it really shows when you come up. Energetics is so important. So when you create while in panic state, it comes through in what you're creating. Even if you can't see it, the energy is felt. And so that creates contraction. And so you don't attract, basically, you are like repelling in a way. So really have fun.
Yeah, 100%. Such and having fun is one of the most underrated matrix for you to feel into, for you to determine what success is. One of the most underrated matrix because like the thing with the love-hate relationship with social media, it becomes a hate relationship when it takes you outside of your default setting, outside of your natural lifestyle, and naturally becomes a hate relationship. It's a love relationship if it satisfies and fulfills your default setting and amplifies your lifestyle. So this is the same thing I tell all of my clients. Yeah, exactly. Right? 100%. Like if you truly want to be on social media, let go of all the borrowed beliefs of best practices on social media. Start really fitting into what is the content cadence that actually works for you, that you feel so fulfilled doing, and it's a part of your lifestyle that it naturally comes so naturally to you. Like one of
Yeah.
my clients, she is the winner of Hawaii USA, like Miss Hawaii USA 2016. And she's going through a period of motherhood right now, right?
Oh,
And because of that, she doesn't have the energetic capacity and time capacity to do what she used to do for her business. I literally told her this. When you're just hanging out with your children, when you're just making meals, just put a camera there and film. And then
yep.
that can even just be a simple reel and then like whatever copy on it and ta-da, you've got content. Right? So
Yep.
it doesn't have to kick you out of your default setting. You get to figure out ways to integrate that into your lifestyle in ways that fuel your cup. And it doesn't feel like this whole beast anymore.
It's such a hard thing for people to understand for some reason, but these are all different skill sets. Like if you are a coach, being a coach is different than being a content creator. Like
Oh yeah,
totally different
different
skill set,
objectives.
right? And sometimes because we know that that's the path to attracting clients, we can obsess so much around that thing that we forget our why in the first place. Your job is to get aligned clients, not to get X followers, you know?
Exactly.
It's a different game.
100%. Like I know in the past when I was so subscribed to external matrix, I used to buy followers, right? So now over the past couple of years, it's like I'm actively getting my assistants to cull followers.
Yes.
You know? So it's like that little pendulum swing of doing that. But at the end of the day, you've got to find what really like works for you, right? And that's the most important thing. So with the work that you're doing now, the evolution from Project Nightfall into creating a safe space for women, how did that come about?
The part that lit me up the most because I had to go and sort out all the business aspect of things, like managing the team,
Mm,
revenue, accounting, tax, Aegon's like the creative mind, and I'm like the business mind and the leadership mind. And the part that excited me the most is seeing my team members become versions of themselves that I actually didn't even think they didn't
I
think
get it.
I did. That transformation has brought me so much fulfillment that these conversations that we've been having, the coaching that has been being done with each person that started off as a script writer, now it's a head of lighter, and then becomes a creative lead. That's the part that just like I knew as I leaned into that was my strength. And so it became also the identification of like, how are we different as leaders? Because our team has like struck lottery because we have an incredible work environment. Like we're family. And I know everybody says we're family,
Mm,
but we're family. Like
I get
we really are. And so it's like they have the masculine leadership with Aegon, and they have the feminine leadership with me. And I think as I evolved and I did my journey and I started to heal, I brought whatever I was learning to my team as well. So I was able to show the women like how they should use their cycles to their benefit. I was able to educate
nice.
my male partner on how we are different. I'm able to be vulnerable with my team and let them lean into their vulnerability, and then we talk more. So that just showed me like I want to do that. I want to do that for other people and women who don't have that safety, either in their work environments or women who have a mission and haven't stepped into their like fullest expression, because I've done it. So it feels like you get to
Mm,
expand the consciousness of the planet while you're helping the people that are on that mission in their own way. And it was just a very natural progression in my journey. Like, this was
mm,
it.
yeah. And what would you say is a key aspect that it's so crucial for women to embrace now more so than ever? And right now, what is one thing they are experiencing the most significant challenges on when it comes to the feminine energetics and being a woman?
The most important thing to embrace for women would be literally femininity. I think we are in systems that are built by men for men. That is the fact. If you are in a corporation, if you're not your own business leader, we tend to be in very structured, hierarchical, like settings. 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, like that's the energy. And a lot of women have felt the need, and I've been there. Like, I've competed with my partner, like, oh, such a awful
Also, the
thing.
Singaporean spirit.
Yeah, of course, it's like, no, and that's not to shame our inner masculine that really helps us as well. Like, bless the masculine within all of us. Like, I owe so much of my success to my inner masculine. But where we shine and where is the gap in the world as women we've come to serve is being in our bodies, being in our bodies and leading through here and not here. We already have the masculine operating from here, overthinking from here, strategizing all the time from here. What we need from the women is to connect to themselves enough that they really can receive intuitive voices and then channel with full confidence. And that comes with unlearning. It comes with like, how do I have practices in my life where I'm connecting to myself? So that would be the one thing. And then challenges, I think I'm being called to, within my business, learn the language of the masculine without betraying my feminine.
Yeah, I like that. Facts.
That, you know, because there's a difference between being right and wanting to let the person on the other side know you are right.
Correct.
And when
One
you
is
are in,
truth, one is outer ego.
absolutely. And so a lot of times when you are, ironically doing feminine work, you could have your intuition and you could have your truth. But your ego can come up when your truth is being questioned. Because a lot of times the masculine, bless them, they need facts and they need data and they need analytics. And sometimes you don't have that, but you're just like, I simply know, trust me. But it's hard for the masculine to just trust it, right? So it's just this dance, and it's for the woman to, one, not be crushed, and two, to not crush back. So it's about like
Mm,
that dance of like meeting here and learning how to communicate rather than like putting down the masculine. I feel like that's the thing that I'm learning, like especially with the men in my team, the ones that have not yet gone on their own journeys and are not yet fully living up to their highest potential. The little boy can come out sometimes.
oh yeah,
Yeah, and for me, I have to really catch myself in not wanting to let them know that their little boy is coming out, but rather hold them.
exactly, 100%. And what I've come to realize is this. Men, when you have truly integrated the feminine, the depth, the intuition, you become a true force to be reckoned with because you've got literally like the default material setting of the man, which allows you to navigate this external reality, and the internal wisdom, magic, and intuition of the feminine. And this is what I've come to realize when I began to truly embody the woman in me, like the
Mm,
depth, the intuitive like aspect within me, to simply trust without logical knowing. It
yeah,
evolves from simply trusting to a true sense of self and a true depth of integrity beyond any logic can even give you. So when that happens, you connect yourself, you open up your crown chakra to source intelligence in ways that you just cannot put it down into material words, because science is just a concept that we developed to explain the honors that is spirituality. So we're still catching up to it, right?
absolutely. People forget that. People forget that everything scientific today needed to
Everything
be
logical today.
exactly. It first wasn't, right? Yeah.
Exactly. I always tell people this, like, think about this, like the ability for us to travel across countries through planes is because of the law of aerodynamics, right? We
Mhm.
discovered aerodynamics that allows us to now create technology on a logical basis, on an external basis to do that.
Yeah.
But for aerodynamics to have been discovered, it needs to have already existed,
Mm.
right? And it has since time immemorial. Birds flying in the air, leaves in the wind, it's wind blowing. It's always been there. It's the
Yeah.
same now for the men who are watching this. Logic, like, and I always tell people this, like, humans are the least logical motherfuckers on the planet.
I know.
All right.
Right?
Every action we take, every decision we make is based upon an unconscious emotional imprint for the need to be loved more, to feel loved more, to be accepted more in so many ways. Right? So logic is just it's just a construct that we create to make sense of a world that innately in and of itself is infinite in the way it kind of is.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
when like truly like man, when you begin to really find that woman within you and you cultivate her and you nurture her, like the power that you experience is phenomenal. And not only that, surrounding yourself with powerful, connected feminine women as I've experienced, the gifts that come through, if you're able to surrender that what it means to be a man, the social condition, the outer state of ego, and really tap into the truth of who you are, the gifts that you receive in the mirror that is the feminine within you and the feminine that is the woman in your life, like fucking phenomenal. Fucking phenomenal.
I just say it means the world to have the masculine as an ally. Really.
Mm.
It really does. We talk so much about masculine, feminine, and I think sometimes because of the differences and in default settings of both, it can
Yeah.
seem we are in disharmony or it's like an opposition, but really everything you just said, you literally addressing the men and talking about how you have felt and experienced the feminine within you. Like being our ally, first of all, it makes us feel so safe. And that really is when we get to flourish. And second of all, it's just a reminder that like we are meant to be in divine union. We really are.
Exactly. Only union will heal, only union will resolve. Anything less than that just perpetuates separation and dissonance in our current thought form. Right? Like and that's so crucial for a lot of people to begin to understand. Like men, start really connecting with the woman within you, start connecting with what it means to be submissive, what it means to surrender, and integrate that into your masculine frame. And women, stop fucking mimicking the madness.
I catch myself like, oh, you're doing it again. Oh, you're not a man.
Like men don't have all the fucking answers. They created the governments and the systems, and it is due for a certain depth of evolution. So stop
absolutely.
mimicking, like, and every single time I hear women like maybe beating down or like kind of like dismissing the idea of being a mother as compared to a corporate professional, I'm like the sanctity of motherhood has been so distorted. You know how beautiful it is. Yeah, to be in motherhood, to be the divine feminine, which is the mother of the world, and the divine masculine, which is the father of the world, you know? People have kind of like lost sense of that in various capacities.
Yes, it's such a big wounding. Like we've just gone from one end to another, you know, like feminism became just like a masculine thing.
It is literally, it is.
So
It is. It's like
why?
I can totally imagine like some motherfucker who just wanted to fuck with the world, like whispering to some women,
Yeah.
like, all right, spread these isms, spread all of these isms, just as we did with all of the isms, so we can all swing to one end of the pendulum of extremism.
I know. It's such a wounding. And I think like you said, right, it is a pendulum. It requires going there before we can balance ourselves and just like find our equilibrium. And I'm seeing both men and women educate themselves more, explore more both polarities and find integration within them. And I feel so honored to be living in this time where we are, oh, like we are pushing forth, like the change makers, the ones who are waking up, like we are like on a mission, you know, and I feel that and it's amazing. It's what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive. And with that, final question for you, Sonia. If I give you a mic, I'm going to give you a mic right now. And when you speak into this mic, the words that you speak through this mic will land in the hearts, the minds, and the souls of every single individual in this given lifetime on this planet. What would you have to say?
I would like to say that you all came here for a reason, for a purpose, on a mission, whether you remember that or not. And if there's one thing I would like to leave everyone with is to simply question everything. Question everything. Question that meal you're constantly ordering, where it's from, what are the ingredients, the water you're drinking, the videos you're watching, the thoughts that you're having. Just question everything and ask yourself, is this truth? Can I learn more? Is this serving me? Is this serving humanity? That's all.
Beautiful. And as Rumi has expressed, intellect is merely opinion, but bewilderment is vision. You've beautifully encapsulated all of it. Such a pleasure, Sonia. If people who are watching this, listening to this, and they want to check out your work, what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, YouTube a little bit. Sonya Mulkeet.
Perfect. I'll drop Sonia's details down below in the YouTube description down below. Such a pleasure, Sonia. Appreciate you.
Bless you. I appreciate you so much.
All right, stay tuned for the next episode, guys. And as usual, freedom comes for all of us or none of us. I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Wow.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode and believe in our mission to create a positive impact in the world, hit that subscribe button so you never miss our epic content. If it inspired you, share on social media. Imagine the ripple effect we could create together. Don't forget to tag me using my social media handles in the description below. We have some mind-blowing episodes coming up that you won't want to miss. Together, let's create a wave of change. Stay curious, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next one.